Okay, everybody, you see we're all back over. Okay, everybody, you see we're back here over to my dad's shop, and that's right, B&B rats and.
I thought you had everything figured out.
Of course I do, you know. It's just
I know.
black, 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 black. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Sunday Night Live. I threw a little blooper reel up there at the beginning of this one for y'all. Oh, who all we got in the house here? Ah, get the mic up on here. Looks like we got Twisted Mopar. Great to see you again, man. And of course, we got Unfinished Project. Up. What's going on? Always good to see you. And then Justin Hill slid right in here. Good to see you. What's going on up north of me there? We finally got some good weather. Oh, so another open mic Sunday night. Just like I said, with any of my lives, I got my link posted up there. If anybody wants to come on in, come on in. It's all open. We'll talk about anything and anything. Some of the quick updates, what's been going on in the shop. Well, my dad just got out of the hospital again. That little intro that I did on there, that's actually the video I got coming up. That was his first day back home. So we took him and threw him in the shop and threw wrenches and rust at him. That's the best medicine you can have. What I was doing over there is was putting the universal kickdown cable on that on our dually rat rod, Sir Rat, the 460 with the C6 and a 51 Chevy, all running on 87 Ford 1-ton dually twin I-beam suspension. Yeah, that one. And I got some more footage coming on it too. I like to use that one because it's all open. You can see it because it's an open engine rat rod. So a lot of stuff I can go over because there's no fenders on it. There's no, you can see everything. So I got some videos coming on that, like how to set a rack and pinion up, just little stuff like that. But anyway, videos that are coming just as soon as I can get them loaded up and edited. This next one I got coming, it's been an editing challenge. I kind of filmed it a little different than I normally do. I went over to Dad's because I wanted to kind of be in a hurry to get that kickdown cable in there and installed and up and ready to go. So I kind of filmed the middle of the video, and then I came home and filmed the intro to it because I got the exact same cable, so I can show you what it looks like all in the bag and all of that stuff. Now I just got to figure out how to put that jumbled up mess together in a video format that you guys can all stand to watch. Oh, Mr. John Wilburn, always great to see you, man. Windy up there in Rexburg, huh? Rexburg, Rigby, one of the R's, Rexburg, Rigby, Roberts, Ryrie. Oh, we got a lot of towns that start with R right in the same area. But that's what's coming up on the channel very, very soon. I did pop a couple of shorts out of it. But like I said, the full-length videos are soon coming. So other than that, what's everybody got going on? I hope everybody had a really good Memorial weekend this last weekend. Oh, we got Eric. What's going on up there in Norway? Our good friend up there in the big wide north. Good to see you, man. That didn't know. Well, I've been really lagging on my yard. Back, oh Lord, It's getting to the point now where I can't mow my yard. I'm going to have to swath it. I think I can swath it, roll it, and bale it. Cooking dinner, huh? That's always a good thing to do. I got to get mine started right after this. We tried out something new this week. Instead of going grocery shopping, the wife seen that Walmart actually delivers now. So we gave that a shot. I'll be daggum, they've delivered clear out here in the country. That blew my mind. And the modern world we're living in now is just absolutely crazy. And actually, they did a pretty good job. And it saved me from doing the nastiest job I can think of, grocery shopping. Ew, I hate that. I hate going to town. I live about, that's what blew me away that they delivered it, because I'm a good 30 minutes from town. But they did it. Huh? And it's all farm fields all the way from there to here. Like I said, modern world, I guess, that we're living in is kind of crazy. But I'll go with it. Pretty much anything has gone that way, though. I do a lot of my part shopping now online. I used to be totally against that stuff, but more and more it's just easier to get it from Rock Auto, or even if you got to order it into your Napa or O'Reilly's or Auto Plus, Parts Plus, wherever it is you do it from. A lot of times you got to order it from them anyway. That's pretty much how I judge my parts order, and I'll look it up on Rock Auto. I'll find it. A lot of times it's the exact same stuff. You can get quality parts through Rock Auto. It's just awful tempting to click on the economy parts instead of the better ones. But that's how I judge my parts anymore. I'll call up O'Reilly's, or I keep saying O'Reilly's because they're the closest to me. I'll call them up if they can get it. If they have it on the shelf, I'll just run over there and get it. But if they got to order it, well, they're going to charge me shipping, so might as well pay for the Rock Auto, and it's generally a little cheaper. Yeah, it's the first time we tried it, and so far so good. Like I said, save a little time. I hate to embrace the modern world like that, but it saved me from grocery shopping, so that's not too bad. Hey, Mr. Terry Grover, great to see you, man. Doing a little better now. This week is finally over. Yeah, it's been a kind of a rough couple of weeks. Parts stores have the high retail prices. They don't charge garages, and counter people don't have any real help to offer unless I need it today. I'd rather order it. Same here, John. Even with we still have our shop discount from, my dad's business, Ron's Automotive. He kept all of the auto parts stores that we dealt with for decades. They kept him in the system, so they keep giving us the shop discounts on everything. But even with that, O'Reilly's, the shop discount on that is selective, and generally speaking, it's not much of a discount at all. Speaking of shop discounts, though, that used to blow my mind because working with my dad at his shop, back then, our primary parts store was Anthony Auto Parts in the little town of Perth, Idaho. We did a buttload of business through them. And my dad had been doing business with them since they very first opened back in, I think, 68, 69. So we got a long history with it. Well, back then it was Vern, old Vern Anthony. He was a World War II veteran. He was actually at D-Day. Anyway, he opened the store, and then his son Bruce took it over. And I've known Bruce my whole life. Anyway, just a small little independent auto parts store. Blah, 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 blah. Get to the chase, right? Well, we did all of our business through them, and they give us a good shop discount. Well, a lot of people would come in, they would buy the part from Bruce or Vern, and then they would bring it to us, thinking that they were going to save some money. Well, by the time we did our markup on it, because we didn't have a very high markup, I think it was only 10% over, and we would adjust it, we did everything we could to save people money. But a lot of times we could get the part for them, and that any auto mechanic is this way. If you bring your own parts, there's no warranty. The warranty is on you. If we buy the parts, we warranty it for, the install. If anything goes wrong, you bring the car back and we'll take it off. We'll put it back on free of charge. Nothing, we'll make it right for you. But if it's your own parts that you bring in, you're on your own on that. Long story short, though, because of our shop discount, it was generally the same price, sometimes just a tad less than what you would normally pay. So my point is, it just totally defeated the purpose. And I'll tell you guys right now, that is the biggest way to really make a good mechanic mad at the get-go. Because if you bring your own parts in and say, hey, use this, what you're telling that guy is, I don't trust you. I think you're ripping me people off. And so they're not going to give you very good, they're going to give you the basics. Anyway, I get to babbling. If I sell rock auto parts, will I get caught? Just thinking out loud versus, What's going on, Dean? Great to see you out there. I love it when I think out loud too, and then you look around and people think you're crazy, and oh man, I said that out loud too. Okay, Mr. Tim Windsor, always great to see you, man. The nicest commenter on all of YouTube, and nicest guy. You know that Ford did with the same 6-bolt 289 block from 66 to 2001 in the last Explorer Sport. That little small block had 35 years development, started with 200 horsepower gross. The old 289, yep. When you start talking years of production with, especially Ford, because Ford would hang on for a long time until they just used up everything that they had. A lot of people will say, okay, this prime example, the 239Y block, it's only a 1-year only engine in the car. But in the pickups, they ran them clear till 60, I think it was, when they finally ran out of them. The Y blocks, they ran them clear to 65, 64, I think it was. But you only found them in the big trucks, not just pickups either. Big trucks like F500s and stuff. You run into that a lot. In the car world or the pickup world, the small truck world, yeah, there is definition, points on when they stop production on stuff. But when it got into the big stuff or the industrial stuff, they kept rolling that forever. Like the Chrysler Mopar flathead 6. The flathead. They were still using it in the 60s. And in all things, the power wagon. Yeah, a lot of power wagons, the early ones in the early 60s, they had a flathead 6 in them. And they kept it going as an stationary engines. You found a lot of flathead 6s. Good engines, really good engines. They just didn't make much horsepower. Anyway, I get off on tangents like that all the time. Squirrels! How is California? Oh, that is a different state. I got to say that. It's an expensive state, but because it's an election year, the gas prices were actually decent down there. But I suspect next year it won't be so good on the gas prices, and boy, everything there has really gone up. Especially like little things like you stop into an In-N-Out burger. If you ever go through California, you got to stop and get you an In-N-Out burger. Yeah, I guess it's a California thing. I don't eat fast food, but the wife, first thing we got to hit is an In-N-Out. And then on the way out of California, we got to stop at another one. But their hamburgers and everything jumped up in price. But we lucked out because it's an election year. The gas prices went down from what they usually are. Dean Stevenson sure does know his history on the Fords. He's our Kiwi Blue Oval expert. I'm still thinking his last name is Ford. He's the missing Ford out of the Ford family that just ended up over there. I'm pretty sure of it. Let's see. There we go. Also, the most helpful. You don't realize all the work Tom does in spreading the message of love. Exactly right. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to put in answering comments. I'm guilty of slacking on a bunch. I got a whole bunch to make up for being gone those, all total about a month I've been gone. That was the worst thing about coming home from, long trips like that is, oh, I had something in the refrigerator that wasn't happy, and I I finally just had to everything in the fridge came out, cleaned up and washed it up and sterilized it. Oh, I don't know what died in there, but whatever it was, it wasn't happy. In 2001, we used the same C code 289 block in the 369 horsepower stroke form for the Australian Falcon T3, huh? A US 5-liter import with a cast iron crank, GT40. Wow. Ford clearly decided they didn't want anyone else making canted valve Clevelands except Australians and Jack Roush. I have a love-hate relationship with the canted valves. Boy, they're great for flow. Very little shrouding around with a canted valve. But that extra angle on the push rods, you got to pay attention to that, especially when you start going radical cam and stuff. Fords are Boards are fun. Fast food is rabbit. Yeah, you just, yeah, about 60, 70 mile an hour, you just nudge over, right? Those ain't mud flaps on the back. Those are scoops. Dinner scoops, right? And sweet. Rabbit's always been sweet. I'm not real big on it. There's a bunch of people around here that started raising rabbits. I don't know. It kind of was a flash in the pan restaurant meat, magical mystery ingredient. Just kind of a flash in the pan, though it went away about as fast as it entered. But for fast, multiplying, easy protein farming, rabbits are the way to go. They don't take a lot of acreage and they breed like rabbits. A lot of preppers started raising them, building rabbit pens and cages, yeah. And hobby farmers. Rabbits and goats. A lot of people picked up on goats. But me, I don't eat nothing that is goat. Oh, the only goat I appreciate is a Pontiac. Doritos save you from upending your fridge. Have you noticed though that Doritos are, especially in the past 2 years, I swear they don't put anything on them anymore. The magic fairy dust powder that make them taste good, they've cut way back on them. There's very little flavor in them. Again, more of those changing times. At least here in the States they have. I don't know anywhere else. Every road trip we do, we usually get a bag of Doritos and a bag of Cheesy Poops. The Cheetos, the big puffed up ones. We didn't even finish the 2 bags. There's just no flavor to them. And red vines. Got to always have red vines for a road trip. And a bag of M&Ms. But all the brown M&Ms, you got to pitch out the window. Don't ever eat a brown M&M while you're on a road trip. But don't leave the house without without a bag of M&Ms, because you'll break down. But if you eat one of those little brown ones, guaranteed flat tire. So be careful with that. That come from back in the 80s. I got word that Eddie Van Halen, or Van Halen in general, used to put it in their contract that they wanted a big 1-gallon bowl, salad bowl, full of M&Ms, but it couldn't have one brown M&M in it, because the rumor was they were bad luck. Well, I found out later on what that was all about. A lot of those big bands that would do big stage shows with especially with a lot of pyrotechnics, they would put weird things like that in their contract to make sure that, okay, if you show up and you see that big old bowl of M&Ms, and if you see a brown one in there, your promoter isn't very keen on details, so they would cancel the show. Not for the brown M&M, but because there were bands out there getting lit on fire. So it was just a way to tell if your promoter was spot on, if he was added the attention to detail that nobody was going to get hurt, or more importantly, you weren't going to get screwed in the end when it comes time to get your check too. Turbo Tom, what's going on? Great to see you, man. But I latched onto it as the superstition side of it, and yeah, I'll be dadgum every time I ate a brown M&M, flat tire, without fail every time. So I will not eat a brown M&M. Probably help if I bought new tires, but who wants to go through all that trouble? Bag of M&Ms is a lot cheaper. That's a good one, Steve. Rabbit meat and Idaho spuds. Actually, it blew my mind. Walmart, everywhere we have stopped, because I'm from Idaho, I'm from the section of Idaho that actually grows the good potatoes. Not all potatoes in Idaho are good. It just comes from, like I was saying before, a small little section of the state. But everywhere I go, I look to see where the potatoes are from. I'll go flip a bag over and look for the address. And actually, Walmart has decent, they're not the best Idaho potatoes, but everywhere in the world. I went as far as Tennessee to a Walmart and flipped over a bag, and sure enough, Wada Farms. They're out of Springfield, Idaho, which is just south of me. They're a little bit on the acidic side, as compared to GPOD potatoes are actually the best of the best. They're just barely north of me. And actually, though, a lot of the ones that they grow are right here around me for GPOD. But those are the ones that, what was his name? Anthony Bourdain actually mentioned in his book. They're so popular, though, they're hard to get here in Idaho. Right here where they're grown, they're hard to buy because they send them all New York, and all of the fancy restaurants just eat them right up. And it's hard to sell a potato here because we're all sick of them. So you put a bag of M&Ms in the glove box and you leave them there. No, you got to eat them. Like I said, if you don't, then you'll break down. Pretty much guarantee a ballast resistor will go if you don't open that bag of M&Ms. But if you eat a brown one, you'll blow a tire. So there's a delicate balance there. You got to be careful. Potatoes, some of them have more THC than, you know. The different taste in the potatoes comes from where you're at on the Snake River, because a potato is almost all water. And the farther downstream you get, the more, especially after Pocatello. Pocatello is where the Portneuf River dumps into the Snake River. If you buy a potato anywhere downstream from Pocatello, picks up a lot of mercury and a lot of natural contaminants from the Portneuf, because the Portneuf comes through it's all natural. It's picking up the mercury from the earth because there's a lot of mineral deposits all the way up through the what we call the gap. So you got to be kind of that's why they start tasting a little acidic, or as we call them, it's like sucking on a battery as you go farther down, especially by the time you get around Boise area. You betcha you can. You can get a lot of alcohol out of a potato. You could run it on vodka. Yep, there you go. And that's what they do with those potatoes that are grown farther down. Is most of those are they're used for vodka and there's a brand out there called Idaho Silver Vodka. It's kind of way down on the shelf vodka, but that's where they're using those potatoes. That and Ore-Ida potatoes. Good Lord. An automotive channel talking about potatoes, M&Ms. Hey, Mr. Lars, what's going on? Great to see you. I got to tell you, that HOA joke that you guys did, or video, oh, I'm glad I watched it all the way through, because about halfway through that thing, I was starting to get a little upset there with JB. You got me good. If any of you guys haven't checked out that video, it's on JB's Little Shop. Go check it out. It's called HOA. You got to watch the video all the way through, though. It's a good one. At the end of that, oh man, that's a good one. I'm still laughing over it. The V2 rocket was powered by spuds. Speaking of spuds, that's one of the car shows that we got coming up next weekend or the weekend after. I left the flyer at the Dad's shop. That's what I was doing in that short there, is we was getting all the rat rods ready so we can go up and do that car show. I think it's called the Planting Festival or something like that. Some car show they're having in Shelley, home of Spud Days. That whole town is built around the potato. Boy, everything just cycles back to the potato this week. Good Lord of mercy. But after watching Thumper's videos and watching them lives that he did with John Wilburn on ethanol and how to make your own ethanol, we got lots and lots of spuds around here. Triple M and Colleen did the HOA? Is that what it was? That was a good one. Oh, Lord, that was a good one. It's all about how do you treat your potato bar. Potatus. That's a dang tongue twister. Oh. Kind of like that blooper I played right at the very beginning of this. I tried it out. StreamYard will let you do like a little video clip, but it can't be very long. And so I decided, what the heck? I'm going to take one of the bloopers that I cut out that I've been editing out through this the video I got coming up. And I decided to throw it up here for the intro to this. Yeah, trying to. There are days my tongue from what goes on in my head to what's supposed to come out of my mouth, it just does not happen. I did it for John Cope. Speaking of John Cope, I just watched the video of the Casper-Matic. Andy just went over there and picked up his transmission that he had John built for him. That's a pretty cool video. Y'all got to go check it out. Finally, a Ford automatic that runs manually with the overdrive. And the care that, John Cope puts into all of his valve bodies and his transmission work, that guy is top notch. And to be able to come up with that design pretty much on the fly. And it all started at the inaugural run of the No Name Nationals. Yep, I got the shirt on. One heck of a great organization and one heck of a great bunch of people, all right here. Even the ones that couldn't make it. That's right, Tom. All I did was print it and mail it. Finally, Ford guys will know how to us Mopar guys feel with torque flights. That is pretty cool, though, how he was able to figure out that what was it? The overdrive control is pretty much the same principle as a 727, but on a Ford, it's all electronic, so he was able to adapt the technology, I guess you could say, manual technology to make his own, or make it apply for a Ford and trick a Ford into being manual. Pretty cool. I had to laugh on it though, because when he talks about the shift down, the kick down cable, the detent, that's actually called a detent cable. Again, if you later, if you want, you can go back and watch the very beginning of this live, and you'll see the bloopers there. That's one of the words that I was trying to spit out of my mouth because I was hooking up that universal kickdown cable, and I was trying to say detent cable. And to top it off, I was up at my dad's shop, and when I'm up there, it's B&B Rats and Rods. When I'm here at my shop, it's BareRose Garage. B&B obviously stands for BareRose and BareRose. And trying to get that out of my, it's just I purposely make mistakes so the trolls have an excuse to hate me. Always, yeah, like I said, I leave a little bit of troll food in there like that. Yeah. Especially in the places where I cut something out that I probably shouldn't have cut out, but I thought, oh, well, all right, I'll let somebody comment on it. And then, okay, then I can know if it's worth pushing another full video on that, or you know what I mean. Or you're constantly calling a nut a bolt. Oh, good Lord, that happens to me all the time. It's taken so many years to fix the problem with just one of all Ford's auto gearboxes. The TF, 904, the 727, they got it right from day one. At least Fomoco kept its engineers busy. Good Lord, yeah. A Ford automatic. I don't have much good to say about any automatic, to be real truthful, but yeah, Ford was kind of, they suffered in that department quite a bit. The C series were pretty good. The C4, C6, the C4, and the C6. There was a couple in between there we don't like to talk about, but other than that, oh yeah, the Cruise-O-Matic, the FMX. People ask me all the time, what's a good thing to do with the FMX? Truthfully, pull it out and put a C4 or a C6 behind it. It's the best thing you can do to them. The amount of money you have to put into one of those slush boxes to make it not a slush box, it just ain't worth it. You just pull it out and put a C6 or a C4, build those the way you want to build them, and you're better off. But now John Cope has figured out the overdrive, so I wish him all the luck. Because basically that's what that transmission is. It's a C6 with overdrive. Now it's manual, so it doesn't take all of that iffy electronics to make it work. Or the expensive standalone units that, kind of work. Or like any automatic, it works within its parameters, not exactly what you want it to do, straight out of the box. C6 and C4 and FMX, okay, if stock. The AOD C3 or the C5 or A4LDs. A4LD, that I believe that's the one that's in my Explorer. Yeah, that's a butter transmission if ever I seen one. It'll barely hold that 4.0 V6. It's not even a 400 straight six. It's the V6 where the torque is a little lower, and they just tore them poor things up. The old rock crusher, yeah. And you take an old jacket. We got on our press up at Dad's shop, there's an old Levi jacket, like from the early 70s. It's been hanging on that press forever, and it's all covered in grease and everything. That's what that jacket's there for. When you're pressing stuff like that off, you throw that jacket over it and press it down, because sometimes, that shaft will explode, or when it pops loose, you want to make sure you got a hold of that, so it don't shoot across the shop. Especially axles. Pressing a race off an axle, that's a dangerous one with a press. But yep, been there, done that. Dawn and Wendy, what's going on? Good to see you. Busy putting this coat hanger throttle linkage back together. But on the other side, though, I love the Muncie too. Any of the external linkaged transmissions, I love all of them because they are just so simple. Let's see, get caught back up here again. I love the NSE and W550 R55. Ford was so confused. They were at all points of the compass. And like I said, some of the stuff you guys got over there and the Australian Fords, yeah, they're little different animals over there. Pretty cool that Ford did that though. They, instead of just shipping them over, they built factories over there. And the designs, they didn't just force what American market had. They actually went there and then built cars specifically for the markets that they went to there, and Europe as well. I can't remember which one, but the European Fords had C4s and C3s in the 70s and 80s. C3s weren't, you see a lot of them on 4 cylinders, which I could see a lot of that over there. Pinto C4s, good Lord, you see a lot of them, and the C3s, and yeah. The cool thing about the C4 and the C6, though, is the aftermarket support on them, too. You can actually afford to build those up into something. Just like Chevy's, Turbo 350, 400, Mopar's 727, the aftermarket world did embrace those to make them even better. But you jump off of those into the other brands, yeah, it gets a little tough. One thing I do wish they would have done, that Ford would have done with the C6 though, is I wish they would have kept the removable bell housing like the C4 was. So you could interchange bell, especially on a Ford, you could interchange the bell housings to whatever it was you're trying to match up. Chevy was easy because big block, small block, it didn't matter. All the same bolt pattern. Chevy. Not a BOP. Buick, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, they all had the whoop up on the top. But it's a pretty easy fix. It's just a plate and a bushing for the torque converter. I think last time I looked, that kit was like 120 bucks to put a Chevy engine up to a BOP transmission or vice versa. I should say BOPC because Cadillac falls into that too. But you throw the C on there and it doesn't sound, you can't say, oh, a bopper, a bopic. That just sounds weird. So I see why they left the C off of that. And for a lot of years, especially the later years, Cadillac was using Oldsmobile engines. Well, they're all under the GM umbrella, so it didn't really matter. All the money went to General Motors anyway. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I got my link posted up there. If anybody wants to hop on in, hop on in. We'll talk about whatever. This week's kind of a low-key, easygoing week. And obviously, I've been so busy I wasn't able to get set up in the shop for this week again. And I still haven't fixed the lawnmower. I really need to do a video on that. I need to do a video. Y'all want to know how to kill a channel? That's easy. All you gotta do is just stop doing videos. I apologize for that. I got to get some more going. Actually, I got plenty of them filmed. I just got to get the dadgum things processed and edited and loaded up to YouTube. Yep. The French Fords. Yep. The 4.0. I got a couple of them if somebody wants one. With the transfer case hanging off of the back of them. In fact, I'll even throw in a 4.0. I can't call it a V6 now because it's one of those alternative cylinder V6s. Sometimes it runs on 4, sometimes it runs on 5. Every now and then it'll run on all 6, but normally it runs on 4, and it just kind of picks which 4 cylinders it's going to fire when it wants to fire them. The transmission was freshly rebuilt, though. I regret that one. But at the time, it was the only 4-wheel drive we had, and well, the wife had a little Nissan, as I like to call them, little front-wheel drive Maxima or Ultima. And well, getting out of the driveway in the wintertime, a little tough in that little Nissan, so I put that Explorer together for her. So in the wintertime, if she needed it, she can jump in it and go to work. If nothing else, it would get out of the driveway. It's a 94. It's the last year of the twin I-beam 4-wheel drive Explorer. I bought it for the 8.8. That's why I got it. Because it's a limited Ford Limited Explorer Limited Edition. It's supposed to be the super loaded one, blah blah blah. But it's already got the limited slip rear end, posi rear end, and that little 8.8, and it's the perfect width for all of these pre-60s cars that I got. Cars, trucks, pickups, all that stuff. That's why I bought it. I only paid, what was it? It was under $500 for that. And I decided to drive it until it quit. So the daggum thing lasted for 8 years. And it'll still start and run out there. Like I said, it's just got a variable 6 in it. There we go. I need to make some videos too. I see you taking over the Saturday spot though on the live, so Mohawk. Good job on your live last night. I had it playing in the background. I was able to type a few comments in there, but you're doing a good job, man. You took right to this like a duck on water. Have no fear, the Duckster's here. What's going on, Duckster's Wolverine Garage? Good to see you, man. Ford got awarded war reparations, so they used the Cologne engine plant in Germany and Bordeaux plant in Belgium to make parts to export to the US. The Explorer was 35% German and Ford, or French. Yep. Unfortunately. They were probably okay. It's just, easy runabout kind of stuff. And as long as you kept up on the maintenance, that was the biggest killer of them. But that says a lot in it right there. German over engineering coupled with French tolerances. Yeah. That's a combination that you'd like to hear, huh? Mohat 62, third live. I ain't counting. Oh, good Lord, yes. And I still cringe every time I see them dadgum things. In theory, they're good. When you first put them in, they're good. But what they do, then, because there's more points of contact, so yeah, you're not going to strip them as easily. But when they do strip, because they're got packed clear full of road grime and dirt and everything else, which they're definitely going to do, and you strip them, then trouble starts. Because they hide them, because in theory, they're unstrippable. So they put them in places that makes it even harder to get to when they do strip. And they will, because they get full of all that crud. The Citron is a marvelous car. As long as your foreign car mechanic is on speed dial and lives right next door. And he works from home. Oh, those early Citrons, they were the craziest all darn thing. I remember they were 2-cycle, the very first ones. There's an old junkyard on the back side of the reservoir. It's kind of a hidden spot. Then you got to know the guy to get in there. A really cool old guy. But anyway, he's got, I think, 4 of those old 2-cycle Citrons back there. Weird, freaky little things. He's got them next to his Opals, though. So if you do get permission to go back there, make sure he's with you when you walk around these Opals, because, yeah, you're liable to get shot. He loves his Opals. He's got rows of them, too. He must have like 30, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 of those 68, 69 Opal GTs. The ones that look like a little Corvette that shrunk. Most everything in his junkyard, though, is old heavy machinery, old fire trucks. I think his oldest fire truck goes back to 40, I think it's a 1940 white fire truck. Old ambulances. The story is that his dad used to work for the county, and every time one had come up for auction, he would just buy it and take it to his yard. So he's got all kinds of stuff like that. But most of it is all Big stuff, real big stuff. Old antique semi trucks from the 50s, early 60s. Of course, it's been picked through quite a bit. Back about, yeah, I guess it's been about 30 years ago, I almost bought a 59 Cadillac Coupe de Ville from him. That's when I first met him. And I kicked myself for not doing it. That was one that he didn't have a title for, so I decided not to. And he wanted 3,500 for it. That was it. And body wise, that car was in pretty good shape. Of course, it didn't run. It hadn't run in decades, but I kicked myself for not taking that car. Of course, I was a lot younger then. I was a lot stupider then. I would have got it running. I would have wrecked it, and then I wouldn't have had it anyway. So, talking about French cars, did you have any Peugeot 505s there? I'm not sure if there was any 505s, but there was a few Peugeots running around. The only ones I seen here were actually diesel too. But I'm not familiar with the 505. And you get around Salt Lake, Utah area, which is just about 2.5 hours south of me. You see a few more of them because that's where the main dealership was. And if you bought a Peugeot, you wanted to live real close to the dealership. Same with Maserati. Have you guys ever noticed that about Maserati? You don't see any of them until you get within about 300 yards of the dealership. And then you'll see them in people's yards and stuff. But you get away from the dealership about that far, and then you don't see anymore. Those are smart people. Most of them are sold in Pennsylvania. And when the Navy was here, we used to have a submarine base way out here in the middle of the desert. Greatest place for a submarine base. That's the last place they'll look. But when the Navy was hot and heavy here, you've seen a lot of those oddball things like that. Saabs, Peugeots, Renaults, Citroens. My best friend's mother-in-law had a Saab V4, and it was a little station wagon that had like 57 Chevy fins on it. It was a cool little car. I always wanted to get that from her, but she wouldn't give that up for nothing. It just sat in her garage, and it was a tiny little car. But like I said, it was a square. It was about the size of a Volkswagen Squareback. If you've seen, those, the Volkswagen station wagon thing. Saab 96 V4. Is that what it was? I always wondered what that car was, but it had real tall fins on it. It kind of looked like a Nomad, shrunk way down. Kind of, if you squinted your eyes just right, you could kind of see the Nomad in it. Kind of a cool little car. I always wanted to take it and put a small block Chevy in it. Peugeot, first car I ever seen with 3 lug wheels. Yep. Thanks, Dean. I knew you could. I'd count on you for figuring out what that freaky little thing was. Cologne V6 with 2-cylinder. Yeah, it was a real tight V. Valve covers real close to each other, about like a 2.8. But it was only 4, V4. Citroen D5 had a Maserati dual overhead V6, huh? I know if you bought a DeLorean, the first DeLoreans, they had the Renault in them. There's a guy in the city that's got 2 DeLoreans. He's got 2 DeLoreans, and his wife has 2 Panteras. And out of those 4 cars, 1 of each runs. The other 2, they're parts cars to keep the other one running. Ford USA designed the 60-degree V4 for the Cardinal, but sent it to West Germany for them to build instead. Had FE rocker gear, same type of FE intake. Yep. Just like the 2.8. That's one that I'll be honest with you, I haven't never liked any V6. I'm not a V6 guy. The V4 would have been kind of cool, just kind of a nostalgia thing. But I would have taken that out and just kind of hung it on the wall as something to, look at. Mostly because it didn't run. Getting parts for it would have been an absolute nightmare back then. That was long before the internet. So yeah, you was kind of at your own devices. Colleen, what's going on? Great to see you. I want a DeLorean. As far as I know, you can still buy a brand new one out of Texas. That guy that bought all the factory and moved it to Irvine, Texas, I think it is. Probably wrong on, I know it's in Texas. The way I understood it, he bought all of the tooling, everything over in Ireland, and shipped it all back over to Texas and set it all up. And all of their inventory and like I said, all of the tooling so he can make body panels. And if you wanted to, he could actually make you one. But he's still running on the old stock. Fenders and, everything. Because when DeLorean shut down, they just shut it off. So you buy a brand new 2024, 2000, well, nope. June is on its way, so it'd be a 2025 now. DeLorean. Actually, I was reading, and I actually seen a video on it. DeLorean's actually back in business. Somebody bought the name, and it's going to be an EV, and it's totally 100% different than what the original car was even close to being. They kind of look like They kind of look like a Lamborghini or a Bugatti. They went totally into the supercar spectrum. How many of cars will be made? If it does, and it's still in developmental phase. They've got 3 working prototypes out. How many they will build, if it does happen, I don't know. I think they kind of tried to squeeze into the last of the EV market. Because it was a lot easier. There's not as many regulations on an EV as there is gasoline powered, an ICE and car company. So you can squeeze through a lot of loopholes with a EV to launch your own car company if you wanted to do that. I think that's why there's so many, just like it was when, cars first started out. Good Lord, there was 1,000,001 different car companies out there. Most of them we've never even heard of because they only built, maybe 10 cars a year, 5-10 cars a year. But when they started slapping regulations and everything on them, they all just slowly petered out. Like the Tiffin, yeah. Heck, I was studying around on it, and there was actually a car company called a BareRose, and it's spelled exactly like our last name is spelled. But they were big trucks, the old C-cab trucks. But again, it was one of them car companies that lasted, I think, 3-4 years. During the video, when Lars takes off down the street, JV said something going up to wind up calling the cops. A few days later, Lars and Damien were talking about Karen's. So I said, we need to, yeah. And you did. You got me. You got me on that one. Good job to you, y'all. The tooling is lost. It was probably used as the net holders for Irish fishermen. The gentleman who you speak of has the largest new old stock parts hoard. Yep. And like I said, he'll build you one, and your choice. You can have a 302 Ford powered one or a 350 Chevy or small block Chevy powered one. The hardest thing with those is a V8 transaxle that'll handle a V8 on asphalt. That was a big holdback for even Ford with the GT40s. Trying to get a transaxle that could hold that torque. The Panteras, that's why they had transmission problems. It's just hard to get it to hold up to that Cleveland. The GT40 was a little bit easier because it was a Le Mans car. So it was made, you almost had to push it to start it. You didn't, but you almost had to. It's so high geared. So they could ease into it, and it got its speed as it got rolling. The DS25 is such a great gearbox. My DeLorean would either be a stock or have a seriously built 3.8. The Pantera, de, and there it goes. I cannot say it. De Tomaso. I hope I got that right. Put the gearbox upside down because Alessandro? Did they put it upside down to get it to run mid-engine? Because when you throw it forward, you got to make it spin backwards. You either got to make the engine spin backwards or the transmission backwards. Volkswagens are nice for that because you can actually do that real easy in a Volkswagen transaxle. Just ask John Wilburn if he's still in here. Yeah, he knows firsthand that. If you put them together, and they'll go together either way. But that was one of the tricks for making a mid-engine sandrail is you use a Volkswagen because of that. You can also use a Corvair, but a Corvair is made to run counterclockwise because the engine turns. It's one of the few that is counterclockwise in a car, not a boat. But your gear spline, the gears are cut on a spiral. It's actually backwards. If you spin them backwards, it tries to pull itself out of gear instead of what it's spiraled for. It's made to pull it into gear and hold it into gear. So if you use a Corvair transaxle and spin it around front to make a mid-engine instead of a rear engine, you got to be careful with that. They are designed to, so, when you flip them around, obviously you can put a V8 right up to them or a regular 3.8 V6 right on them, spin them around, make a mid-engine. But you got to hold them in gear, hold your hand on the gear shifter, otherwise it tries to pull itself out of gear. We learned that stuff on back when we was doing sandrails. But the easiest one was Volkswagen, and you put it in there backwards, so you kind of have 4 speeds in reverse, but because you put it in backwards, then everything goes forward anyway. My dad tells me a story about when he was over in Vietnam. He was on Signal Corps, which is he's the guys that. Well, luckily he wasn't the guy that those poor guys. And hats off to all of the Vietnam veterans who were in Signal Corps, especially in the field. Those are the guys that wore that big old 100-pound radio on their back with a 10-foot freaking antenna waving around saying, "Here I am, here I am." But my dad, he was a pole climber, so he'd go around and climb the telephone poles because long before wireless, everything was wire, and reset up communication wire. Well, they'd run out their their ladder trucks and everything were deuce and a halves, and most of them were those 2-stroke Detroit diesels. And they were he said those things were just beyond wore out when they got there. But anyway, they went out and had a call. They had to go out and reset wires. It was just outside of Saigon. Long Dock, I think the base was. Anyway, one of these days I'll get him on here and he can tell all these stories. But they took fire. Somebody was taking pot shots at them. So they jumped down. He said he flew down that pole everybody dove into the deuce and half and he fired it up. But when he, in a hurry like that, when they hit that key to fire it up, it backfired. And when it backfired, it spun over backwards. But they didn't have time to shut down because somebody's out there taking pot shots at you. So they drove that deuce and a half backwards because the motor was spinning backwards. They had all forward gears in reverse. So they hauled butt back, shifting gears in reverse. One of these times I'll get him on here and he can tell you that story. That's one of the things I think about when 4 speeds in reverse. That story that Dad always told me pops into my head. Flying back to base in a busted up, wore out deuce and a half that's spinning backwards. The engine's spinning backwards, so they're shifting gears in reverse. Yeah, those old 2-stroke diesel Detroits, they'll do that, and they'll run. Oh wow, there's a name I haven't heard for a while. Maynard James Keenan. Oh yeah, his voice goes through my head every time I'm working on a car. I know these pieces fit. Signal man with Maynard James Keenan, lead singer of Tool. One of my favorite bands. Never seen them in concert though. It's what King Crimson would have sounded like with distortion. Speaking of music, Dean, great job on your channel, your 4 p.m. live, 4 a.m. live. Oh, I'll click that on and I'll listen to you guys. Oh, that's good stuff, man. DAF made small sweet car with Variomatic, which is said to run as fast backwards as forwards, huh? DAF, huh? DAF is only big trucks now. Kind of like Mack trucks. They do make pickups, but very, 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 very small production. And I actually think they quit producing their pickups about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They finally pulled the plug on. But I've never seen one. I've never seen a Mack pickup truck, just in pictures and videos and stuff. Seen a lot of Mack trucks. they're dang near everywhere. Especially considering I think the counties everywhere got the contract on through Mack for their snowplows. Lots and lots of old snowplows were Mack. And who can forget the Bulldog sitting up there on the hood? That's just cool. Kind of weird with black smoke coming out of the air cleaner. That's another one that I've only seen But I would love to hear it when they would take the old Buick nailhead and they would actually run them kind of backwards. You hang the carburetors off of the exhaust, and then you run that backwards, so the cam would be backwards. So your exhaust becomes your intake, and your intake becomes your exhaust, and they were goofy looking. But you seen that in a lot of nostalgia dragsters and stuff, because that was the drawback of the nailhead, is they didn't the intake side, the way those heads are set up, real goofy. So to get better flow, they just reversed it because the exhaust was would breathe very well. The old nailhead, good lord. That's another engine I'd like to have just sitting on an engine stand, because it's just cool looking. It's one of my favorite looking engines. Maynard owns a vineyard, and while the grapes grow, he had specific music played for them. So a stereo for your grapevines. DAF 66. And he said the song was small? One of the Peugeots that guy out on the backside of the reservoir's got, it's actually got a kickstart, like a motorcycle, and it's a two-stroke, little one-cylinder two-stroke. It is a four-wheel, but it's that one with the two tires up front that are wide, and then the back tires almost touch each other. It looks like a three-wheel car, but it is a four-wheel. Weird looking. You go back to the back and you open the hatch and where the motor is, and there's a little kick, just like a motorcycle, and you can stick your foot in there and you kick it over and run around, jump in it, and of course it didn't run. It was just sitting out in the junkyard. You could see it, but weird. And it looked like it had lawn chairs for seats. It was a Citroen or a Peugeot. I forget which ones it is. It's white. Dugan in Australia did that on a small block Chevy race engine he made. Great for a ground effects car. Way cool. Mopar industrial big block sometimes had timing gear and cam spun backwards, second gear timing. And you get into marine, you'll find a lot of that too. In fact, the Berkeley block that you see on that rat rod I'm working on in the next video coming up, that was originally a reverse engine. My dad got that almost for free. The boat that he bought for that engine, they couldn't get it started because it needed a starter. So they just went to the auto parts store and bought a starter for big block Ford 460 and stuck it on there. Well, that one was set up to run backwards. So yeah, every time they try to start it, it would pop and fart and do all kinds of weird things because they didn't want to spend the extra money for the marine, and it's an expensive starter. But Dad got the starter for it and fired it over, and that thing, boom, fired right up and ran like a charm. Then he took it into our engine builder and he put another cam in it, reversed it, made it normal. Or clockwise, I should say. And went through it, totally rebuilt it. And that's where that block started. I believe it was that one, or maybe it was another. No, that was another 460 Marine that my dad got a hold of. We already had the other one, and it was regular. It was clockwise rotation. That was a different one that we had. Yeah, that's right. Now I remember. But he picked that whole thing up for less than $500 because they thought it was just junk. My favorite Marine starter is the planes that would start with the shotgun bullets. They use like a blank slug. But yeah, like I said, I got my link posted up there if anybody wants to come on in. We'll go for a little bit longer here. It's just another Sunday free-for-all open mic hangout. Wildcat shotgun start. Good friend of mine's got a 68 Buick Wildcat GS. Beautiful car. Every once in a while, they bring it out of the barn. Actually, it's a good friend of mine's uncle. Lives up in a little town in Yukon. He bought that car new. I watched a video just the other day. A guy used a shotgun shell to start his 1930s tractor. Sure beats trying to turn him over with that old hand crank. Had a Alice and Chalmers Cub, little Cub Cadet. It was a 39 or a 38. Good friend of mine had it. I didn't. He was always scared to start it that way, though, so he'd put the pickup behind it and he'd pull and get it started, and then he'd jump out of the pickup and run around and kick it out of gear. Started in ultra low because it ultra low, it barely crawl. So he'd get it started that way. And like I said, he'd jump out of the pickup real quick and run around and pop that little Cub Cadet out of gear. They were kind of the freaky little tractors before the company Cub Cadet. Alice and Chalmers made what they called the Cub, and you sit off to the side. Everything was off to one side. Kind of a weird configuration. He used to use it for sickle mowing, and he would cut all of his canal bank and ditch banks with it. until I got his little 9Ns or was it an 8N? And he had a Fergie that basically was a Ford 9N, but Ford was making them for Ferguson at the time. But he had an actual Ferguson. Once I got those converted over to 12 volt for him, he used those instead of that old Cub. Wow, sickle. Because when that thing would fire, wow, jump off, go to. Of course, a lot of times he'd have the wife drive the truck, but oh, Denny, he was a little crazy. He was a little different guy. Yeah, they're just a blank. And the old original ones were brass. Instead of the plastic case, they were a brass case. And they just got the crimp, is all. No wad, no BBs, nothing like that in it. It's just a boom charge, is all. Okay, I'm back. Car's running decent. Sweet. Now I can drive it to work sometime this week. It's got 8 gallons of fuel in it. Need to get that burned up. Heck yeah, you've done paid for it. Nowadays, heck yeah, they are. I haven't done CSA in a long time. Or CAS, cowboy action shooting. But those guys, there was a company that was rebuilt that was still making them. And a lot of those guys had run them for the triple shoot. That's when you stand at one station and you got to shoot with the pistol, and then you move over to the next station. Well, you run. You don't just move over. You mosey on over. You lose every one, but you run over, and then it's a lever action. Then you run over to the next one, and it's a shotgun. And a lot of those guys would use those brass for that, especially in those old pre-smokeless powder era shotguns and handguns and all of that. They were all black powder charged. Cartridge. They were still cartridge, but it was black powder charged. And the brass is a lot more forgiving on that old steel on the antique firearms. So there was a company, I think it was might have been out of Lewiston, Idaho, that was making them. Still, making brass shot shells. Yeah, and if you're hunting in the field and you've only got one shot, yeah, it makes you think about that shot. So you don't have to worry so much about other people shooting at just moving bushes. Eight US gallons. The British are selling 25% of your fuel. Unless it's King's birthday weekend, like it is here. I get a free holiday today. You get a holiday on the king or the queen's birthday? I guess you get something out of the monarchy there, right? Keep it clean and well prepared. Your muzzle loader will have a high success. Oh, every time, yeah. Everything that I've heard wrong about a muzzle loader all comes down to that right there. And the worst thing you can do is to leave a load in them. When you're done hunting, you gotta go out and stump them. You just go out and you find a stump and you shoot it. Get that load out of there. Because good God Almighty, trying to use a ball puller, yeah, that'll make you invent new swear words you never even thought of. Unless you got one that's got a screw out breech, but I've never trusted those ones with the screw out breech. I think he's a king, but you never can tell these days. My flintlock is as fast as a percussion and is lighting up. Once again, clean and well prepared. And make sure your flint is napped. Amen to that. The hardest thing to learn or to keep from doing with those old flints, though, is the flinch. You see that in the corner of your eye go, and the pan before it goes in and ignites. That everybody will like that, and they'll shoot to the left every time. And one guy actually had to video him because he swore up and down he'd never flinch, never flinch. But this thing it just always shoots to the left. Finally, I had to video him, and I'll be dadgum, I do. The old matchlocks, way back in the day, back when they had the flaming stick, the smoking, wick up there. It was actually in the training manual, and it's the reason they didn't put sights on them. Is when you go to fire, you stick your head down, and then you touch off. It takes a minute to get used to the flash pan, yep. And at night, boy, it lights it up. They're fun. Once you get the hang of them, they are fun. And again, they're just like cars. When you're out there in the field or you're shooting one, it's just like stepping back into time. You can feel everything like it was way back then. It's the same feeling as when you climb into one of these old cars and you grab a hold of that big steering wheel. It just sucks you right back into time. I love that. Even the old cap and ball hand pistols, same exact thing. Yeah, you get the uh, mold set. I know it's called. I'll think of it here in a minute. But you get a set of them where you can make your own balls, your own bullets. All you gotta do is save up all the lead and everything. Oh yeah, a can of powder. One little can of powder will last you quite a while, and you can get a lot of shots with them. I use a retired car air freshener. That's the wads. Hey, that worked pretty good. Do you have a stamp that you don't punch them out in perfect circle as wads and beer cases as cards on my smoothbore flintlock? Sweet. Well, we've been on for about we're pretty close to 2 hours here. I think we'll go ahead and call it a good for this week. Again, I appreciate every single one of you guys for popping in this week, and all of you are still watching my goofy, wacko videos. I really can't thank you guys enough for that. Uh, Everybody stopped in tonight. Thanks, and we'll catch you again next week. I do have videos coming. I swear, I just got to get the dang things uploaded. I'm slacking. I've been a slacker. I admit it. I'll do my best to get them up. If you guys want to catch a little sneak peek of a little bit of what's coming, you can rewatch the first like 10 seconds of this live. You'll get to see a little blooper from the video that's coming. Again, everybody, thanks for coming out this week, and hopefully y'all can get out there and get some metal hot, and we'll catch y'all next week. Thanks for coming.